Thanks, hi, everybody. I hope you weren't waiting too long. Wow, I didn't know what the hell I was walking into. This is great.
It's all good. We got a chance.
This is like a Senate investigation.
What did you do with the money?
In Article 2, 4, 5, 7, I'd like to quote.
So we'll get going, I think, right away. Tom, Kenny, thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you.
Does anyone have a first question that they want to fire off?
Go in order then.
Kyron, go ahead.
Fantastic. So, just in regards to the new movie that's been out for a bit, right? And doing cartoon series as well. Is there any real difference? You know, do you go into a different studio? Do you do anything really different for a movie compared to, in the regards of voiceover?
Yeah, well, it was a different studio. We recorded the SpongeBob show at Nickelodeon, Nicktoons in Burbank, and we recorded the movie in a bunch of different studios, mostly on the Warner Brothers lot for some reason, since it was a Paramount movie. I don't know how all that stuff works, but you know, I would say the biggest difference is that like basic cable animation is pretty ghetto. Like even on a show as popular as SpongeBob, you know, you get in there and everything's fast and furious. You go in, you record it, and then you know the animators get the voice tracks and you know do that, and then it goes off to Korea and it gets, you know, it's all really fast and there's no time to tweak anything. Like, oh, I thought of a better joke for that. They're like, too late, it's already in Korea. You know, it was 12 hours ago. You know, so now, you know, with the movie, the gestation period is longer, which gives you more freedom to tweak things, and you know, you record, you'll do the same scene many times instead of like 2-3 times. You know, yeah, 2-3 times we'll do it. Like on the show, we'll usually do it 2 times as written, and then a third time.
3 times in the one sitting compared to like going back.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
You could go back like a day or 2 later. And
yeah, like over a period of months on the movie. You know, they'll go back and go, hey, we're gonna do that scene again. We added a pause. You know, oh, okay. We did. It's weird, and I think by, you know, animated feature standards, the SpongeBob movie did not have the, you know, the gestation period that a big Pixar movie or something has. But coming from, you know, down and dirty basic cable animation, it felt like so luxuriously long. You know, but the interesting thing about the SpongeBob movie was that once everybody pulled the trigger on it and it got the green light, like, it was already way behind schedule. Like, you know, like the day they started, the animators and everybody was like already behind. So it was like this intense, insane situation for them, I think, where it's, you know, it's just like, you know, hey, the movie's a go, and then there's like a giant train bearing down on you, you know, and then they were just like running ahead of that train, like almost up until the release day, you know, which is a crazy way to live.
Would you do it again?
Would I do it again? Oh, heck yeah. Yeah. Being the voiceover guy's funny. You come in, you back clean up, everybody's glad to see you. Hey, Tom's here. Hey, you know, and then you do your funny stuff. You're home for dinner.
The TV show though, like are you in longer sessions?
The TV show's like a 4-hour session. I mean, they're only 11-minute segments, and you know, 16 years, everybody knows their characters fairly well. So, and I voice direct it now. So as of this new season, I'm the voice director. So it's it's a whole different kettle of fish, if you'll pardon the expression.
Thank you. Sorry to waste your guys' time.
Wow, thanks for calling my answer a waste of time.
No, sorry, I meant
wrap it up, asshole. Okay.
Do you ever go to McDonald's or anything and like just bust out the SpongeBob character, like surprise kids?
No, they'd probably arrest me and think that I was a creep. But do you like cartoons? But get away from him, Timmy. So you know, once in a while, the fun thing about, you know, being this character that's iconic is that you can, like you said, bust it out when you want to. You know, if there's you see a kid having a birthday party in a restaurant you're in or something like that, and everything's SpongeBob, you know, you can kind of. I always check with the parents first, so I don't seem like a total weirdo. But you know, an interesting thing is that like kids recognize me way more than adults. Like, you know, you'll be somewhere and. This happened recently where a really little girl, like 6 years old, like hiding behind her mother, and their mother came up and said, excuse me, I'm sure she's wrong, but she says you're the man that does the voice of SpongeBob. And I was like, I am. You know, how does she know that? She's like 6 years old, like a Latina kid. And she was right. She must have seen some behind the scenes thing on Nickelodeon or something like that, and then then you do the voice for her, and leave a message for her on her mom's phone, and it's fun. It's kind of like you have like X-ray vision that you can use when you really want to or need to. You need to go to a children's hospital, you can bust it out. But the rest of the time, you're just walking around, and you're like a schlubby middle-aged guy that nobody gives a rat's ass about, which is fine. I'm cool with that.
One question is just in comparison to the movie and the TV show. When you're in that situation where you're doing the same character for both, is there much of a difference between, say, the pay scale that you would run into on a movie perspective and a TV perspective?
Pay scale?
Yeah.
Well, let's see. I do the voice of a lot of the fish on the show, so I guess I do work for scale. Technically, but it's ouch. No, but it's basically everything's negotiation in Hollywood. So I was, when a show is first starting out, it's scale. Everybody gets the same thing. Then as the seasons go on, and you start reading in the Wall Street Journal that they're selling zillions of dollars of SpongeBob bed sheets and talking toilet seats and stuff. You just go, maybe we can go in and go. Let's go in for this next negotiation and see what we can get. And, movies is the same way. And now, hopefully, since the movie did really well, we can, get a pretty good deal for the actors on the next one. Yeah, but we did fine on the last one too. But really, it's just about the agents getting in there, and I don't like conflict. So I'm just like, don't tell me how the sausage is made. Just I trust you. You've been my agent for 30 years. Just go in there fighting for both of us and let me know when the carnage is over.
Brett?
Now, obviously you're an iconic voice actor of our generation especially, but you got your start in How I Got Into College. I love Steve Holland.
I do too.
Oh, but is there ever any thought in your mind to try to keep your career going as a live action actor?
I was telling somebody this yesterday at the table, somebody who was wanting to break into voice acting, and I said, voice acting that's really what I always wanted to do, since I was a kid. And then it was a tough nut to crack, probably the toughest nut to crack. I started doing stand-up while I was in high school, and then, by my early 20s, I was making a living as a stand-up comedian. I didn't have any other job, by the time I was 22, 23 years old, I was making a living as a stand-up comedian, and then, getting on camera work and stuff like that. Savage Steve Holland, he got me my SAG card.
Awesome.
Was that movie? He's great. I love that guy. But I always wanted to do voiceover, and I would audition for, and it just wasn't happening. It was like I was trying to. That was the thing I really wanted to do, and I just had an instinct that my skill set would probably be best served in that world. I just wanted to do it. I don't know. I was called to that for some subatomic reason. I think maybe practical reasons too. I think maybe you look at show business and how ephemeral it all is, and you go, wow, a voice actor can work for way longer than an actor that's on a popular sitcom for a few years and then never does anything again. I don't want to be Gilligan, And so I think it was a mix of just me worshiping Mel Blanc and cartoons my whole life, and kind of being kind of a practical minded person anyway. And once the cartoon thing started rolling, and I was able to phase out stand up, and I was able to honestly say I can't make it to that on camera audition because I've got a zillion cartoons going on that day. It was almost a relief. So now I love doing cartoons. If I could do that 5 days a week until I'm an old dead guy, that would be awesome. But it's fun to do on camera stuff once in a while. We're shooting some new Mr. Show 20-year anniversary stuff. I was doing that last week. I'm doing more of that tomorrow when I get back to LA, and it's fun to do it in that situation. Fun people. But yeah, I don't pursue it that much, mostly because there's only so many hours in a day, and my batting average, auditioning wise. My batting average with voiceover auditions just decimates my crappy batting average with on-camera auditions and bookings. So it's I think I better dance with the girl that likes me.
Graham, go ahead.
When it comes to sitting down and finding a voice for a character, how much is it you just sitting there workshopping through like a picture of it, or kind of what the writers have, or is it usually a fleshed out thing? Here's what we want, go for it. Where's that kind of balance?
It's all of that. You know, like generally the audition process is for animation anyway. You get a picture of the character, you get a little breakdown of the character's personality, maybe what they're looking for. You know, think Frodo meets, Herman Munster or whatever, and you're going, what? And really it's just reading all those tea leaves and, trying to solve the Rubik's Cube of what they're doing. And I guess your goal is to go in there and be the guy that they like slightly more than the other guys, and the other guys are all awesome. You're like, you walk into the room and like, okay, Billy West, Rob Paulson, Maurice LaMarche, I'm fucked, and you just try to give something a little spin, and then your secondary strategy is always what you're hoping will happen. We'll go, you know what, that voice that you did isn't right for that guy really, but here's this other guy that we weren't thinking of you for, but try that guy. That's happened to me a lot. Where they go, try this other guy because that voice you did is interesting. It's really different than what we were thinking for this guy, but it kind of fits this guy maybe. And so it's just kind of, it's kind of this interesting Sudoku crossword puzzle that I really enjoy. Like people go, why do you audition so much? And I go, I like it. It's fun. It's like, it's fun to go in and try and solve a puzzle. And, when you're right sometimes, that's good too,
We've only got about 2 more minutes because I know you have a big line.
I do.
Where you do. Anybody, Karen, did you have a burning question?
Switching over to Adventure Time, with the Ice King, did it start out as you knew there was going to be this whole giant tragic backstory?
No. I don't think they knew that either at the beginning. Like if you watch that first Adventure Time short where they go to Mars and meet Abraham Lincoln, I don't know if that's how I was introduced to the series by my kid going, this is really awesome. And Ice King's in it voiced by John Kassir, the Crypt Keeper. He was a whole different voice. And then for whatever reason, Pendleton Ward decided he wanted a different voice for the Ice King when it went to series. And, that series was at Nickelodeon for a couple of years, and then they didn't do anything, and it reverted back to Pendleton and Company, and then they brought it to Cartoon Network. So, that was kicking around for a long time. Again, patience. The lesson being patience is key in this business. You can't freak out and bail. And he was just kind of a burlesque, standard, kooky villain, and then he got this. They gave him this backstory that just kept, and is still being fleshed out. Like I'm still recording stuff that, hasn't even been animated yet for the Ice King. That's heavy, and it's so fun to be able to play that kind of a character with that kind of depth, in animation. It's the kind of part that generally often goes to celebrities, in a feature film or whatever, like that would go to some movie star, and it's fun to be able to play a guy with that kind of depth, and you still get to do the comedic portion of him. He's like pathetic, but it's funny. I mean, I love there's stuff he does, like picks through his trail mix, picking out the raisins and stuff like that I think is just so tiny detail stuff that's just fun. But yeah, I don't think they had any idea that he was going to have this crazy arc. And the arc is continuing, and it's so great to do, and it really connects with people. I mean, people come up going, "I cried during that Marceline and Simon and Marcy episode," and it's like, wow, I got it in too. It's like,
well, it really reminds me of the experience of having a parent who's going through Alzheimer's and stuff.
Absolutely, absolutely. So true, and I have an 86-year-old mother, so it definitely, like, a lot of people are coming up to me and saying that like it resonates on this whole other level of somebody, dementia. The Ice King is basically a guy with dementia, and so many people have that in their families, and it's treated in a respectful way, but in this kind of fantasy milieu. It really speaks to people, and I know that was not the writer's intent. They weren't even thinking about that. It's kind of this unintended substrata that just kind of happened. It's really beautiful and great. I think that people, read that into it, and I think it is there, on some level. I mean, anytime somebody writes something, there's all kinds of subconscious stuff bubbling underneath it that they're not knowing about,
We've got time for one more question. If anybody has.
With all the voices you've done, especially all the other TV shows and everything else in Spider-Man, are there any outtakes anywhere that you have Dr. Octopus as SpongeBob?
That would be great. That would be great. My new Sinister Six will soon decimate you, Spider-Man. I don't think there's any outtakes of Doc. There's always good outtakes from these. These engineers, they're always saving everything, and there is some great. Someday there will be XXX rated cartoon outtakes collection that comes out, and usually the more preschool oriented the show, the sicker the outtakes. All right, it's like an adult. So you're doing an Adult Swim show. It's hard to be any more outrageous than like what you're doing, or Archer or something like that. But when you get into PBS Kids World, it's way more fun to circumvent the intent of everything. and somebody was asking me yesterday about this episode of SpongeBob called Sailor Mouth, where SpongeBob and Patrick learn a cuss word off of the wall of the bathroom in the Krusty Krab or whatever. And then they go around just like using it to people, like they don't know what it means, and people are like, oh, people are freaking out, and they put dolphin sounds, in the characters' mouths when they cuss a blue streak. But somebody said, "Were you guys really swearing?" When that was recorded, and I said, "Yeah." It's like the creator. We were trying to do rack and fracking stuff, and the creator Steve Hillenberg said, it's just go for it, and we'll bleep everything out. Just go for it. Just go for it. We'll bleep it out and put dolphin sounds in, but it's got to sound organic, like we're really bleeping something real. And so that exists somewhere, and I really want to hear, because man, Clancy Brown is great at that. The Highlander can cuss a blue streak. He's really good. Yeah.
Do you have anything else you want to add, Tom?
No, unless anybody else wants to get it into the wire. Yeah.
Go ahead, Matt.
Given that both Adventure Time and SpongeBob have very dedicated and just loving fan bases, what's the most either weird or magical thing a fan has given to you at an event like this?
Wow, I can answer that as of yesterday. Well, there's a lot of stuff. I don't have my bag with me. I guess I couldn't read this without violating her privacy anyway. But somebody came up, got an autograph, a young lady, and gave me this letter and said, "Don't read this now." You know what I mean? And ran away. And she seemed kind of like uncomfortable almost. So when I woke up this morning, I read it. And it was just about things that she was going through in her life. She's in her 20s. Her parents divorced really unexpectedly. Like, after being married for 20-something years, they were like, we're splitting up. That knocked her for a loop. Like a 12-year-old beloved family dog died, at the same time, and she was, she didn't feel like she had anything going on in her life, and she said she was really considering doing something drastic to herself, and drinking as well, and SpongeBob was the thing that saved her. She said she'd come home and turn on the TV, and here was this funny, stupid, idiotic, silly thing, and it made her smile and made her laugh, and she kind of reassessed it. And she's going to an art school, and kind of getting her life back on track. But she said SpongeBob was the thing. I needed silliness. I needed silliness in my life because everything was falling apart. And it was this letter. It's a 2-page letter, and I was just handed that yesterday. Read it this morning, and it was that's probably the most amazing thing I've been handed in a long time. It certainly wasn't. I don't know what I was expecting when I opened up this letter. I didn't know how. Can you get me on Adventure Time, or I didn't know what it was going to be, and it turned out to be something way deeper and intense than I had thought it would be. And I guess that's just kind of this one of the unexpected benefits and perks of of my job is that, you know, you never know. You kind of fun around and you make this silly stuff, and you know, drop this rock in the water, you know, or whatever, and you don't think about these ripples that go out, and one of the ripples is this girl that's having this horrible time, and this thing that makes her laugh kind of makes her go, maybe I won't kill myself. So it's pretty, that's heavy. I'm still recovering from that. I read it this morning, you know, I'm just like, oh. So that was an amazing thing to be handed. Some of the stuff is just weird. Hey, I found did you know they make SpongeBob nipple rings? You know, you're like, was this on your nipple ever? Sometimes it's a nipple ring, sometimes it's an inspiring letter.
Wow, thank you so much.
You bet. Thanks, guys. Thank you. Hope I didn't get too heavy at the end there.
You know what they say, when life hands you lemons,
do a barrel roll.
And when you want to know about your favorite games, listen to Game On with Jeff Johnson.